a woman's attention is worthless, it's only her compliance. And a lot of times as men, we get attention from women and we confuse that for compliance. And so we give them back attention. When a woman gives us attention, it's worthless. When we give our attention to her, our value drops. Just like the same thing with sex. When we give sex to a woman, it doesn't do anything to our value. It doesn't cost us anything to give sex. But when a woman gives a lot of sex to a lot of men, in society, sometimes her value can drop. So one of the things I just can continue to reiterate to my students is that when you give attention to a woman for reasons just because she's physically attractive, one of the things you do is like your attention means less. You should give your validation and attention to a woman who actually gives you compliance. That's the only way I do it. And once you do that, when you can maintain that one masculine boundary, it's incredible. Because with Sadia Khan, she said something effective. What one thing all women want is a man they cannot manipulate. I love that. They cannot manipulate. So if you're in a situation where it's like, hey, just like you look, I had this discussion with some of the guys who were on my Monday call, my free call, and I was explaining to them, the way you know if a girl's not sleeping with a dude is he's the guy leaving the heart eye emojis on her photos on Instagram. You 100% of the time, she is not fucking that guy, right? And I had guys actually argue. I had photographers come on there. They were arguing with me like, no, I like girls' photos sometimes, and I give them comments. It's like, they're like, don't you encourage women sometimes? And I'm like, yeah, I encourage them when they come over to my apartment. Then I can encourage them when they come over, when they show compliance. I also say compliance is below the belly button, attention is above the belly button. So that's the thing you have to understand. When you have that understanding, I don't confuse a woman's attention for compliance. I only confuse compliance for compliance.
That's brilliant. You know, that's sort of parallel. As you may or may not know, I don't even want to say the word transition based on what I was
Ross, I'm 46 years old. I'm very familiar.
I've moved into the realm of teaching NLP and suggestive language for sales. And one of the things I say is rapport is way overrated. You don't want rapport, you want compliance. Rapport is only as good as it serves to create or to assist creating compliance. That's for sales, but I can certainly see, I've never heard anyone put it as succinctly before, that attention from a woman is worthless. It's compliance that's worthwhile. That's brilliant, but I'm right in line with that. I've never condensed it like that. That's really good. I'm definitely on the show, dude.
Fascinating.
I used to manage a strip club like 25 years ago. And one of the things I've had to relearn is that women's necessity for attention, it actually probably exceeds men's necessity for sex. I cannot, like, the more I see panel shows where women go on there, get insulted, and then just go back on again. When I see nightclubs where there's girls who are like, I'm never coming back to this nightclub. I can't believe you guys are rude to me. They're the first girls back there the next time. Women giving attention to men who treat them poorly, all this kind of stuff. Women's necessity for validation and attention is equal to that, to a heroin addict's necessity for heroin. Like, it is one of the craziest things. And if you manufacture it, we did an experiment one time. Light nightclub, I don't know if you guys remember this, used to be open in the Mandalay Bay. We did one time where we had these two red cameras, the Red Dragons, the real $38,000 cameras. We didn't even turn them on. We had two huge lights, and we just posted it on shined it on our table as if we were famous or we were shooting some kind of movie or whatever. Every girl in the entire club came over to our table. One time we threw a party after the Super Bowl at this guy's house. It wasn't a super nice house, but it was up in the Hollywood Hills. And we put two step-in repeats there with lights on the step-in repeats. These are just like, like red carpets. There were no cameras. Every woman spent the entire time they were there on the red carpets taking pictures of themselves. Women's necessity and necessity for validation is more extreme than I even recognize. It's like, it's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. The level of abuse that women will take and the level of bad behavior women will accept if they're getting the validation and attention that they're looking for. That's something I've had to relearn.
It's crazy. I'm totally in line. I got to tell you a story. 2 nights ago, as a favor to my operations manager, because he's going to fuck this woman who's going to fly out, he said, look, will you do this podcast? It's hosted by this dumbass woman. But I said, okay, what the hell? I spent 2 hours just flailing her alive verbally, because she said, well, I have this problem. I have all these simps giving me attention and I don't like it. I said, don't tell me, let me guess. You're on social media, you post pictures of yourself in bikinis and all. She said, how did you know that? I said, well, of course I know that. I said, why are you doing this? If you don't like simps, let's talk about your daddy wounds and your childhood trauma that require you to get constant attention from men. And she didn't like that. I don't have any daddy wounds. Then why are you getting attention? Are these simps giving you any money? Well, some of them do, but most of them don't. I just like getting their likes and blah, blah, blah. And so this is really funny. It goes so far, even not, I could see getting attention from a simp who's giving her money, but she wants the attention from guys she's not interested at all. So you're absolutely right, Michael. It is addictive, and particularly because it comes through the form of something that's designed to give you dopamine addiction. The media, way back when I was like 10 years old, there was a book called The Medium is the Message by a guy named
Mushroom McLuhan. Yes.
You got it. So the medium here is addictive in and of itself, even if you were sending pictures of your cat's butthole.
Guys, imagine this. Imagine the concept of going on a date with a woman you weren't interested in having sex with. How crazy does that sound? You just wanted her attention. None of us on this call and none of the people who follow us would go on a date with a woman we had no intention of having sex with. Women do it all the time. In fact, I'll say the majority of dates now are women doing it. Can you imagine going on a dating app for attention and have no interest in, like, no one you're right swiping with, you have any interest of having sex with? Could you imagine that you are so necessitous of attention that you would do something like that? We would never, as men, we would never do that kind of thing. In fact, I'll tell you, most of the guys here, if I was like, hey, your money troubles are taken care of, and you get no attention on social media, but you get all the sex from all the women you want, most of us would be like, yeah, it sounds great. That sounds fucking fun. I don't need the attention on social media. We are not necessitous of attention. But here's another big chain thing that I want to point out. My necessity as a young kid to better myself, to be more attractive to women, made me stronger, a better leader, a better speaker. It made me a better businessman. It made me improve as a human being. I'm not so certain that a woman's necessity for attention does the same thing to her to make her want to improve. That's all I'm saying.
It doesn't. A woman's attention is worthless. A woman's compliance.
Hey, guys, you know, when she sends you those nudes, when she sends you nudes, guys can mistake that for compliance. No, she sent those nudes to 31 other dudes. And remember, she sends you the nudes using her thumbs. That's above the waist. Compliance is when she comes over to your apartment nude.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Sartain, you ever called them out? Do you ever call them out like, hey, don't send me your fucking copy pasta nudes. You better send me some organic nudes. I tell them that. I'm like, you better send me some nudes just for me.
When they ask me for nudes, I'll send them an actual picture of an eggplant. Just like big, large eggplant. Just keep sending them eggplants over and over again. It's so funny.